This is fairly new, but what they've been able to assess thus far. But I'm going to start here with a couple that it's we're going to save the world, if you will. But it's a bit of a love story and a little bit of a superhero drama, too, going on here. As I understand it, I have Sarah Louise Young, Northwestern University professor of anthropology and global health studies, and Julius Lux, Northwestern University professor of chemical and biological engineering. Thank you so much for both being here.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, I'm not sure where you all are in your relationship, but just reading off your backgrounds here, I'm like, these two are gonna have some smart kids. The setup is there. But anyhow, let's talk about your recent work. You are testing water both here in our area and well beyond. So tell me a little bit about what you all are doing.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. And like, spoiler alert, our kids already know better than us in most things anyway. So basically, we care a lot about people's what we call water security. Do they have the water that they need when they have it, when they want it, and is it safe and is it acceptable? And right now, it's pretty hard to know what's in your water in an easy way. And so, to answer that question, enter stage left, Prof. Lux.
Yeah, so our work really started off with Sarah's work actually in different parts of the world where a lot of people don't have the same water supply as we do, and they're kind of faced with where they get it. You know, do they have something close to their home, but it's maybe not of high quality, or do they spend a lot of time and effort trying to get that water? And she came home with the idea of what if we could give them something like an at-home COVID test, but not for COVID, but for their water, figure out if their water is safe to drink. And as Sarah likes to tell it, while our kids weren't interrupting us at dinner, we kind of hatched some plans to do that and develop what we call a biosensor, a biological molecule that's safe and easy to use and actually tells us if our water is safe to drink. And so that's what we're trying to build.
And let me just translate what Julia said for the non-chemical engineers in the room. A biosensor is just a little part of a cell. All cells need to know if it's too hot or too cold or too salty or too what. That's how they react. So what they have done is extracted this little part of a cell out, ground it up so it's not going to like replicate. There's no Frankenstein cells happening or molecules happening. And then when something is present, like lead, it tells another biosensor to turn a color. And that's how COVID tests roughly work. It's kind of how pregnancy tests work. I mean, and both of those tests are democratizing really important information that we should all be able to know. But right now, sometimes it's hard to know if there's lead in our water specifically or not.
And we've heard, you know, I mean, some of the worst case scenarios when there's lead in the water for a community. But I would like you all to talk about the implications for people at home when you do have lead in the water, what that can lead to.
Yeah, so problems with water can have really far-reaching consequences. I'm just coming back from teaching a class where we talk about the biocultural consequences of water. Problems with water can be really hard on your pocketbook when you have to replace your lead line. They can also, lead specifically, can lead to behavioral problems. It's a neurotoxin. Neurotoxins don't help us to think clearly. They're associated with aggressive behavior. Those are two really clear ones.
Yeah, and it's particularly bad for, you know, those of us in the area that are growing young children or pregnant mothers. And the nice thing is, if you know you have a problem, there are things that you can do about it. So if you've got elevated lead, one of the things you can do is purchase a filter, and we give filters out in our studies. And as long as you get the right one, that can take a lot of lead out. You can also flush your drinking water, so run the tap for a little while before you consume it, and you know only consume stuff out of the cold tap. And you know, with the right resources, you can replace the lead line. What we're trying to do is give people information so they know what to do about it, and not so it slips under their awareness and they're being contaminated with water, lead in their water.
And so one of the places you all are focused right now is Inglewood. Tell me why.
Yeah, Englewood. So we've been working on this study for a few rounds. So the biosensor, and this is the royal we talking about the biosensor, we've got the engineer guy doing the biosensors, we've got the anthropologist going out to talk to people about what their experiences are. And I would say we're the professors appearing on this show. Thank you for having us, but we are supported by a huge team of amazing people. So we're starting with like great appreciation to Greater Englewood, round 4 of data collection, to see how we can make these tests the most easy to use. How can they go sideways? How can we make our instructions better? So we're partnering with a couple of organizations in the Greater Englewood area, including Sustainable Englewood Initiatives and Grow Greater Englewood. Shout out to Adonis Platt. We appreciate you. And we are really trying to work with the communities, not to do any weird experiments on communities, but to give the test to the people, for them to tell us what's working and what's not working with the test, and for them to know what's in their water.
Yeah, and when you say not to do any strange experiments on the community, you do realize that there is a hesitation for many communities, especially disinvested communities, when there are scientists that come around with big ideas.
Nobody wants some ivory tower joker coming, doing something, and leaving, which is why we are partnering with these organizations, which is why we have a community advisory board filled with people who are long-term here, there, and care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we a big part of the project is communication, because you're absolutely right. We don't want to come in and say, you know, we're from this great university, we're going to solve all your problems. We want to work with you together to do that. And so this website, wise-dx.org, actually has a really cool magazine that we created that shows our community advisory board members. We meet with them regularly to understand what are their real issues, what are their real hesitations, so that we can work together to solve that. We also use these interactions to develop this test together. You know, it's one thing to have a cool idea in the lab. It's another thing to have something that really works for everybody else. And so this type of work is really important to really co-develop these ideas together.
Sarah's biggest problem solving was showing us that magazine just a moment ago. I saw you trying to work that out, but you got it.
Yeah, so this is a zine that was developed with Vanessa Bly, Juliana Feng, and Natalie Noemi Ayala. And this is really like explains in no uncertain terms what biosensors are and what the process we've used for testing them and what the study looks like. I mean, we are here to answer any questions, to like give us the hard questions, because what we're trying to do is empower people to make their lives better.
And you all are offering $50 per household for these tests. Is that correct?
That's right, and that's just a small like token of appreciation. I think what's more powerful is that you get knowledge about what's in your water. We will use our tests as well as gold standard tests, and like Julia said, we'll also leave you with countertop filters that with cartridges that remove lead for certain, no matter what the result of your test is.
Mm-hmm. And when you
I think sorry to interrupt. The one thing about the hesitation, it's certainly true, but what we've been really excited about is the reception that we're receiving in other communities that we've gone to in Chicago. And, you know, people, this is a big issue, and it's really hard to understand if your water is safe to drink. And so together we're helping identify problems that then communities can go to their older people and be like, hey, we got a lead line problem. We want to do something about it. So so far we've had a really positive reception.
If I can just add one thing.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. We're also helping people to know when their water is safe. And that's also an important part. I mean, bottled water is really expensive. It's not great for the environment. And so when we can drink tap water, we want to. And this is another like outcome of this. The other thing to just add is that there are a couple of criteria for being in this study. You need to be 18 years or older. You need to live in a house built before 1986. And you need to live in a single family home, but this is important, 2 flats are fine. The point is why it's a single family or a 2 flat is so that you can not use the water for the night. So you can agree that when we do this like catch of water, it will have been stagnant in your pipes for 6 hours at least.
Mm-hmm. And are there other places around the state, and any villages or anything of that nature that you all are looking into as well?
So we started in Chicago, and we are working also in Evanston. We want to get all the kinks out before we go broader, but we really are hoping to, and I think Julius wants to add to that.
Yeah, we've received a lot of excitement. And, part of this development is doing this, slowly and iteratively so we can learn, if somebody's, for example, early versions of the test, which I can show you if you're interested in what it looks like, but they're having a hard time with the little dropper, getting the water drop in the test. We've refined that with their partnership. So we're trying to get all the kinks out, as Sarah mentioned. And right now, we're really looking for a commercial partner that can manufacture a bunch of these tests to really satisfy the need of some of the interest that we're getting.
Well, this is all very interesting. Thank you for what you're doing, and please continue to let us know how this goes, especially as you get more people who sign up. It looks like you were looking for 116 households in the greater Inglewood community.
That's right. We appreciate you having us on, and for all the listeners out there, we would love to work with you to help this test be better and help Chicago.
And how can people get a hold of you all?
Yeah, so wise-dx at northwestern.edu or www.wise-dx.org.
Okay. Thank you both for being here. Love your love story, and